Happy Monday, if you will, the 14th day of October 2019. Let's wake up Wenatchee Valley. We're back for another exciting week of television entertainment, television information, and just plain TV. How are you? Hope you had a good weekend. Very interesting weekend for me. Yankees won Saturday, lost last night in a game that took 5 hours to play, so didn't get a lot of sleep last night, but I'm here with my bells on, ready to tackle another work week. And we got some good stuff for you, not only today, but all this week. But my guest today will be Jessica Johnson, the executive director of Sage. And whenever Jessica comes in, she brings Hank in with her. We love the Hanker. So an interview that we taped on Friday with Jessica and Hank will be coming your way at the back half of the hour. We brought Jessica in because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, a very serious and sobering topic. We talk about that with Jessica in the back half of the hour. We got a bunch of highlights from a football game that really wasn't much of a game on Friday night. Eastmont rolled all over the Davis Pirates. We were there. We'll have highlights of that when we get to sports, plus your news, the obscure holiday. We got today in history. We got some birthdays for you, and everybody is entitled to Mike Minardi's opinion. Just a quick heads up, it is Columbus Day as a federal holiday. They still call it Columbus Day. It's still a federal holiday. What does that mean for you? Probably not a lot, except no mail today. You won't get any mail. Postal Service gets the day off, and most banks are closed. I noticed that when I was driving around over the weekend. They had the signs, we won't be here on Monday. But outside of that, it's pretty much business as usual. There's school and stuff like that. Washington State does not observe Columbus Day. Many locations call it Indigenous Peoples Day instead of Columbus Day. And before I forget, happy Thanksgiving to our friends in Canada. It's Canadian Thanksgiving, which is not a bad idea. I think I'll take the day off and go eat some turkey. Can't be doing that. Weather forecast for the next couple of days look pretty good, and then things get a little on the cool side, a little on the wet side. We've had a very cool October. I got some stats to throw your way when we get to the weather forecast. But enough of this. Let's take you around the valley at 2.5 minutes after the hour with our PTZ cameras. Sun's not quite up yet. 7:18 will be sunrise officially today, but there's just enough light to let you look at that beautiful view of the Wenatchee Valley. Sunrise 7:18, sunset will be at 6:15, so we've gone down past the 11-minute mark. 10 hours and 57 minutes of daylight coming your way on this Monday. By the way, Saturday's high was 51, Sunday's high was 60. So if you're ready for this, every day this month except one day, the afternoon high temperature has been below normal, oftentimes well below normal. It has been a cool October after a cooler than normal summer. From this point forward, Jessica, Megan gets to decide where we're going to go. And she says, let's go see what Turtle Rock's looking like today as we point up the Columbia River. Lake Antioch looking good. Of course, it was also the first weekend of the hunting season. I wonder how our good friend Eric Granstrom did. I know he and his family went hunting. Where, I don't know. Good morning, Lake Antioch. Good morning to the folks in the lovely Orondo area in the mighty Columbia, looking good. Camera 3, a slow dissolve to the Rock Island camera. Rock Island Golf Course is looking good. I got to get as much golf in at this time of the year as I possibly can. It's cool, so you got to wait a few hours before you can go out on the golf course, and then you don't have enough daylight. So you really got to time your tee times in so you can get in 18 holes of golf without having to tee off too early in the morning when it's just too darn cold. Good morning, Rock Island. Thanks for starting your day with us with the Stemilt Basin off in the background. And finally, hey, speaking of Stemilt, let's take a look at Jump Off Ridge. Wenatchee way off in the distance. You see a few high clouds up there, and one of the reasons you see those few high clouds is that camera is way, way up there. But we're going to have sunshine today and a mixture of clouds and sun on Tuesday, and then for the rest of the week it looks fairly cloudy. Good morning to our friends in the Malaga area. We'll be up in Malaga, by the way, later on this week. We'll be filming a segment at the Malaga Community Park. Looking forward to that. All right, 5 minutes after the hour from the National Weather Service. Again, a brief period of quiet weather today, and for the most part tomorrow. We're expecting quite a bit of sunshine. High of about 58 degrees. Couple of clouds expected tonight, 40 for the overnight low. We have a weak high pressure ridge that's already starting to move out of the area. So by the time we get to Tuesday afternoon, it'll be fairly cloudy, but we'll have some sunshine Tuesday morning. We'll top off at 58. And then a series of systems starts to pay us a visit. Starting on Tuesday night, it's going to be, some rain in the Wenatchee Valley, some snow in the upper elevations. Not a lot of wind we need to worry about. So 20% chance of rain on Tuesday night. If it rains at all, it's going to be in the overnight hours. Certainly cloudy skies to go along with that. 45 for the overnight low. Wednesday, 50% chance of rain. Lots of clouds. I have about 58, 59, or right around there on Wednesday. Wednesday night is a pretty good chance of rain. In fact, our best chance of measurable rain is going to be Wednesday night. Most of it in the early evening hours. It should be tapering off by about midnight. We'll get down to 43 for the overnight low Wednesday night. Thursday, partly sunny and a high of 61. We catch a little bit of a break, and then here comes another system on Thursday night. We've got about a 60% chance of rain. It looks like Thursday night into Friday. Overnight low about 44. Friday, lots of clouds, about 57 degrees. As you see there, about a 40% chance of rain. Jump ahead to the weekend because we can. Lots of clouds, a light raindrop possible on Saturday and a high near 56. Sunday, pretty much the same deal as Saturday. Slight chance of rain, mostly cloudy, and a high of about 55. So outside of that one high temperature of 61 on Thursday, we're going to be below normal again with our afternoon high temperature. So quite a bit of sunshine today. Mixture of clouds and sun on Tuesday. System comes in on Tuesday night. It's going to dump us a pretty good dose of rain Tuesday night into Wednesday. We dry out Thursday, and then another system Thursday night into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. A friendly reminder, it's October, everybody. Fair skies, 43 degrees outside of our studios. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have your Monday morning news. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley live this morning from Studio 4 in downtown Wenatchee on the NCW Life Channel.
My first experience with CVCH, I had to come in with my daughter by myself with a cut in my hand that required stitches. And the care and compassion in CVCH was really significant, that they took the care and compassion and made me feel more as a human instead of just a patient there. The care they have for their community all around, inside and outside the clinic, is what I feel like is different. And that's what makes me want to come back to CVCH and recommend them to my friends and family.
Hi, my name is Jim Heinlein, independent agent and owner at Springwater Insurance Group, formerly known as Senior Insurance Services. And we recently decided to make that name change because we're offering so many different other types of insurances in addition to Medicare education and enrollment like we've been doing for 15 years. So if you have questions about Medicare or any other forms of insurances, give us a call at Springwater Insurance Group, 888-2600, or visit us at any of our 5 locations.
We're back at 8 minutes after the hour. We have fair skies and 39 degrees. Quite a bit of sunshine today. Highs will be in the upper 50s to right around 60, but that's pretty much it for the sunshine for the balance of the week. We're going to cool down and be quite wet by the time we get to Wednesday and pretty much through the weekend. Here's what's making headlines. A Lake Wenatchee man must serve 6 years in prison after pleading guilty to meth and heroin charges. 32-year-old Michael Stephen Arthur pleaded Wednesday to counts of heroin possession and meth possession with intent to deliver, as well as related charges. Drug Task Force detectives found more than a pound of meth in Arthur's vehicle during a July 30th search of his home on Brayburn Road. Investigators said the home was in filthy condition. 6 adults, 2 minor children living there. 4 other adult residents are charged with multiple drug offenses. Also on something you see every day, but a golf cart burst into flames at Campbell's Resort in Chelan. This happened on Thursday night, about 5 o'clock. Chelan Fire and Rescue firefighters arrived to find the cart fully engulfed. It was being driven by an employee of the resort who escaped without injury. Crews quickly extinguished the blaze, but the cart, as you might imagine, was a total loss. In other news this morning, the Wenatchee Convention Center could see some structural changes in its future as the city looks to make the facility more regionally competitive. The city is moving forward with plans to possibly redevelop the facility in order to adapt to a changing convention market. Thursday night, the City Council was presented with the results of a consultant's study that recommends pursuing a strategic expansion of the 40-year-old facility. The Wenatchee Convention Center is smaller than competing venues in Yakima, the Tri-Cities, and Vancouver. The study looked at the increasing influence of the millennial generation and how it's looking for more open-air venues with advanced technology. Now, the council has approved a recommendation to move forward with a possible plan of action, but Mayor Frank Kuntz says building a bigger facility is not the answer.
I think we get in trouble if we try to chase the Tri-Cities or Vancouver or Spokane and say we just got to make it bigger because we can get bigger conventions. I think in a lot of ways you're just sort of chasing your tail. As soon as we do that, someone's going to make one bigger. And at some point, we got to figure out what we have and make it the best that we can make it on the footprint that we have to help downtown, to help the hotels that are attached to that, but not necessarily be trying to chase what everybody else is doing. Because it's got to be Wenatchee, what we can do best there, and I think stay focused.
The City Council has authorized $65,000 out of the Convention Center's budget reserves to pay for the conceptual plans. Well, when she joined Congress last year, Kim Schreier signed up for the House Agricultural Committee. The freshman 8th District Democrat told her very own Jefferson Robbins that she wanted to do her best to work on behalf of the region's farmers and to help eradicate childhood hunger.
What are you hearing from orchardists or wineries even concerning how trade war, tariffs, things like that are affecting their business and their ability to get to markets?
A significant portion of our orchardists' crops are for export. And when that doesn't happen because China says too expensive, not going to buy, or people will not pay for them, then it hurts our farmers' bottom line. And then when that happens, the entire economy suffers, right? If the farmer suffers, he's not buying new equipment, the manufacturers are suffering, all of the employees are suffering. And so making sure that we get good, solid trade deals that can't escalate into these tariff wars is critical for the farmers in this district.
One of the things that ag policy deals with is SNAP benefits, things that we sometimes call food stamps.
Right.
There's proposals, at least one proposal by the Trump administration to start severely limiting the availability of SNAP benefits. The rule as proposed, as I understand it, would subtract about 175,000 Washingtonians from the SNAP program. Any motion in Congress to amend that, change that, try to protect those benefits for people?
You know, I sometimes stand back and think, how does the administration choose which cuts to make? I mean, this is clearly one that is taking people who are already just hanging on by a thread and making life tougher for them. And just to be clear, SNAP benefits are not generous. It's $1.40 per meal, and I would challenge anybody out there to try to get by on $1.40 a meal. And you know, this concept of categorical eligibility, which is a big mouthful of words, it is what makes it possible to have temporary assistance for needy families recipients also get SNAP benefits, and then for those children who attend school to also have free and reduced cost meals at school. And so essentially what this is doing is just making for better students and better workers, and it's giving a helping hand to families who need it. And when you take that away, you get a ton more paperwork. You get kids with a stigma because they have to get a special, to stand in a special line or to have special recognition for needing that help in school. This is the wrong place to be making cuts, especially right now. People are already having trouble getting by.
Finally, this morning, a number of the major mountain passes and even some of the minor mountain passes have already received some dustings of snow, even though we're a ways from winter. And that's got a lot of people asking, hey, can I put studded tires on my car early this year? The answer, by the way, is no. The Washington State Department of Transportation says, nope, it's going to take a large statewide snow event to change the November 1st date before you can put studs on your tires and have studded tires. No such event, of course, is in the forecast. So if you want to put studded tires on your cars, you're going to have to wait until November 1st. And that's your headlines at 14 minutes after the hour. The stories that we're working on tonight at the 5 o'clock news with Grant and Eric. Let's find out together. Here's Grant.
Good morning, Dan. Coming up tonight on the NCW Life Evening News, Representative Dan Newhouse is leading a bipartisan effort to build an Indian health center in Omak. I'll tell you about a very wet weather forecast in store for us this week. And Eric Granstrom will be in with area scores and highlights from sports around the area this past weekend. That and much more when you join Eric and me tonight at 5, 6, and 10 right here on the NCW Life channel. Dan?
Thank you very much, Grant. We appreciate it. As Grant mentioned, we're in for a fairly wet week. Once we get past today, the chances of rain increase as we get to Tuesday night. And for the most part, outside of Thursday, we're going to be in for certainly cloudy conditions and the occasional raindrop. coming our way really right through the weekend. The news with Grant and Eric will come your way at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock, 5, 6, and 10. You can watch it on demand by going to our website at ncwlife.com. You can also watch it on, television, as we like to say. Any kind of smart device will work as well. We'll have the news up and running right around 5 o'clock. Or again, you can watch it right here on TV at 5, 6, and 10. And we'd love for you to get a hold of us. So you can pick up the telephone and give us a call. You can drop us an email, news@ncwlife.com. We have a Twitter handle, although I've never handled a Twitter. And also we have our Facebook page. You can message us that way as well. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got a lot of sports. It's Monday. We always have a lot of sports. You watch Wake Up in Wenatchee Valley on this 14th day of October. We'll be right back.
Campfire North Central Washington, serving youth ages 3 to 18. Register today in one of Campfire's programs. Club members meet regularly with volunteer leaders to learn responsibility, sharing, cooperation, and citizenship. When a child is involved in Campfire, they will be actively learning and engaged in activities, encouraged to learn new skills, feel a part of the group, learn to work in a team setting, participate in planning, goal setting, and making lasting memories.
My name is Brian Thorpe. I own Global Car Care in Wenatchee and have been here for about 25 years.
Brian started Global Car Care as Brian's automotive alternative on Orondo Street.
Some customers were following Brian since Brian's automotive time.
No, we're just grateful to be part of this community. This is where I grew up. We want to do our part to be a valuable part of this community. We want to thank you for trusting our business for 25 years.
And we're back 17 minutes after the hour on this Monday. Let's talk sports. Seahawks erased a 20-6 halftime deficit, came back, knocked off the Browns yesterday morning in beautiful Cleveland. The final was 32-28. Chris Carson capped the comeback with a game-winning 1-yard touchdown run with 3:30 left in the game. That gave him 124 yards rushing on the day. Any chance the Browns had for a win extinguished on K.J. Wright's interception with 2:20 remaining. It was the defense's fourth turnover of the game to go along with a blocked punt. Seattle coach Pete Carroll was very happy with how his team never buckled and came through with a victory.
I just loved the way we hung tough and stayed in this game. There were so many opportunities to let this game go one way away from us, and our guys just would not do it. The goal line stand down there, all that took, and all of the back and forth and all of the things that happened down there was an extraordinary sequence. But our guys wound up stopping them, and I was so fired up about that. That's when football is at its very best. The second half, I just thought it just showed. We put a lot of yards up on the first half, and then we just kept going. I thought the offense did a beautiful job today. Russell was exquisite again. I mean, he found his ways to make his plays. Two touchdowns and ran one in as well. He's just making stuff happen, and it's got to be hard for the other side trying to figure out how you're going to stop the guy. He just keeps making plays. The receivers came through across the board. I love the day for Jay Brown. Get a couple touchdowns, really beautiful plays. I thought DK played really well. Locke came up with some crucial plays with working with Russ. That chemistry is unbelievable, and it gave us a chance to get all the turnovers today. Finally we get bunches. We've been talking about it all the time. We come up with 4 balls today, all across the board. Everybody had a shot at it, and that was a beautiful day on defense to get the football back. It's so important. We needed the block kick from David Moore as well, just to hang in.
Russell Wilson, 23 for 33, 295 yards, a couple of touchdowns, ran for another. Continues to put up MVP-type numbers. Jerome Brown caught both touchdown passes from Wilson. Tyler Lockett, by the way, collected 5 receptions and 75 yards. Only bad news, Will Dissly, the tight end, he went down with an Achilles injury. He could be out. But the rest of the season, Seattle's now 6-1 with the win. They host the Baltimore Ravens Sunday at the Clink. Kickoff at 1:25. Let's go to the Les Schwab College football scoreboard from Saturday. True freshman quarterback Jaden Daniels scored from 17 yards out with 34 seconds left to give number 18 Arizona State a come-from-behind victory over the Cougars, 38-34. Jacob Eason throwing for 243 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Salvon Ahmed ran for 3 scores. Washington rallies in the second half, rolled over Arizona 51-27. Eric Barriere throwing for 445 yards, 5 touchdowns. Eastern Washington got past Northern Colorado 54-21. And Christian Moore throwing for 423 yards and 5 touchdowns. Central Washington gets back on the winning track. Let's stay to the football field. We'll go back to Friday to the Les Schwab Prep scoreboard from Friday. Eastmont Wildcats did all the scoring they would need in the first half. They beat Davis 42-16. 5 different players scored 6 rushing touchdowns in the first half. The defense for Eastmont recording 7 first half sacks. Eric Granstrom and Grant Olson were there. Our cameras were there. Here are some highlights.
Second down and 1 from the 6. Man in motion. They're going to turn and pitch it out to him. Running around the left side, trying to get to the corner and into the end zone for the touchdown. It's Corbin Keys as Eastmont scores first.
Beautiful fake once again, which was sold by Everhart at the line of scrimmage, and great blocking around the left side, especially a seal block by the wide receiver on that side allowed Keys to make that easy 6-yard touchdown run.
Everhart under center here. You got to think Eastmont will go back to the running game as they send a man in motion. They turn, hand it off. Look out! 50, 45, 40, running away from everybody all the way to the end zone for the 58-yard touchdown run. Eastmont, just like that, strikes again.
Austin Popoff, was it?
Austin Popoff with the run and the touchdown.
What great blocking again up front by the Wildcat offensive line.
Ensuing kickoff, Gregerson gets a better foot into this one with a return man back at his own 7. Dropped the football, still looking for it, and then Eastmont comes and covers it.
That's a 5-yard line.
I thought it was too, but it's only 13 on the scoreboard. Everhart, meanwhile, leaps into the air and leaps into the end zone. Touchdown, Wildcats. Ruffins gets the pitch, looking left, got a block, into the end zone, touchdown.
6 yards.
Beautiful
Ruffins.
job of sealing the far side of the field, and Austin Ruffins going to be one of the easiest touchdowns he'll get.
He's so quick. We mentioned the speed. Just the youngster, as Eric said, only 14 years old, found the edge and a great block once again to spring him. And Eastmont, just like that, up 26-0.
We'll see what happens here as they send Popoff in motion, handoff Tally, and
There's
he is going to go into the end zone. Touchdown, no problem, 25 yards and a gallop.
Boom.
Carson Tally on a 4th and goal from the 4. Man in motion again. They're going to turn and pitch it out and turn in the corner and getting a great block into the end zone for the touchdown. Corbin Keys will find the goal line. And a beautiful block on the left side by the tackle over there, as well as I think Logan Easley had the corner.
Great blocking, and the line has been doing just an outstanding job all night long.
And so Mago will put the tee down at the 16, so a 26-yard field goal attempt to try to recoup 3 of those missed extra points. Snap is back, spot is down, blocking is good, kick is on the way, and it's good.
They had really good guys, it's just the right calls. I got to thank Coach Foster for putting us in the right spots to make big plays. But they were pretty good. I'd say they're a solid offensive line.
Okay, that first half, some definite hitting going on, and there was some little extracurricular stuff here and there. How do you keep your cool when that stuff is going on?
I got to do better of that. I'm not doing a good job right now, but I need to tone it down. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easier, but I just got to tell myself to cool down, play the game that I know how to play.
Don, we talked about that, about family and about football family. And is that up to you guys, too, to kind of pull in the guys and say, hey, we got to focus on the task at hand?
Yeah, it's a big key. Football is basically family, like you said. And when Caleb was down, we all told him, hey, bro, it's okay. Like, you got it next time. Let's play clean. Let's play better. And I think that's what we did, and that's how we executed really well.
And the Wildcats improved to 6-0. With the victory in Yakima, the Wenatchee Panthers escaped West Valley with a 15-10 win over the Rams. The game was tied at 10 late. Wenatchee got a 37-yard field goal to take the lead, and then they capped the win with a safety to improve to 3-0. In Big 9 play, 5-1 on the season, and Ike won the battle of the winless teams. They beat Moses Lake Friday. The final was 24-7. Caribou Trail League on Friday. Kashmir wins the 66th Battle of the Bronze Shoe. They downed Chelan 28-18. Omak took control of the CTL with a 25-7 win over Cascade. Okanagan beat Freeman 48-7. In the CWAC on Friday night, Ephrata wins the Battle of the Basin. They shut out Quincy 38-0. Prosser, Othello, and Toppenish all winners, as you see there. In Central Washington B-League play, Manson topped Kettle Falls 31-26. It was Brewster over Orville. Chewelah edging Lake Roosevelt. Elmira, Cooley, Heartline, Simon, and Garfunkel kept rolling. They beat Waterville-Mansfield, 68-16. And Bridgeport won a thriller over Pateris, 42-40. Other prep sports Over the weekend, back to the Les Schwab scoreboard we go. Wenatchee edged Sunnyside in soccer 1-0. Eastmont earned a 2-0 win over West Valley. Cascade clobbered Omak. As you see there, 13-0. Cascade posted a 4-3 win over Moses Lake. Ellensburg shut out Quincy. Ephrata fell to Grandview. And in volleyball, Eastmont was swept by Sela 25-20, 9 and 26-24. Liberty Bell swept 3 games from Waterville. Mansfield. How did the Wild do over the weekend? Half and half. They got third period goals on Friday night from Luke Ormsby and Harrison Scott, but that wasn't enough. The Warriors win that one 5-2. West Kelowna and Wenatchee did battle again Saturday. 2 teams would skate to a 3 all tie at the end of regulation, and then Hunter Hastings scored 3 minutes in overtime to give Wenatchee the 4-3 win. Also scoring goals for Wenatchee Saturday, Tyler Young, Drew Bavaro, and Luke Ormsley. The Wild are on the road for 3 this weekend. They'll be at Alberni Valley on Friday, Cowichan Valley Saturday, and then Victoria on Sunday. And finally, the baseball playoffs. Houston evens the American League Championship Series with the Yankees. Carlos Carrera's walk-off home run in the bottom of the 11th. Last night, the Astros win at 3-2. George Springer added a solo shot for Houston. Aaron Judge accounted for all of New York's offense with a 2-run homer off Justin Verlander. In the 4th, the series is tied at the game apiece. Back to Yankee Stadium we go. Game 3 tomorrow afternoon at 1:08 on FS1 in Washington. They're up 2-0 in their National League Championship Series with St. Louis. They beat the Cardinals Saturday 3-1. Max Scherzer dominant. He went 7 innings, allowed no runs, 1 hit, 11 strikeouts. Game 3 this afternoon in our nation's capital. First pitch at 4:38. And those are just some of the games that people are playing on this Monday. The obscure holiday at 26 minutes after the hour. I mentioned already it's Columbus Day. Sometimes some jurisdictions and states and cities celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. In other words, we were here first day, if you will. It's National Kick Butt Day. It's National Be Bald and Be Free Day. But no, we're going to go with National Dessert Day. Doesn't that look good? There's 2 National Dessert Days. Back in September, we celebrate Eat an Extra Dessert Day. This is just plain National Dessert Day. We do not know when this holiday started, but we know what the word dessert comes from. It's French, from the word dessert, which means this is the meal that you eat after you've eaten everything else and you clear off the table, and then you eat dessert. Now it's dessert. Desserts, of course. I love a good dessert. And you're supposed to eat, growing up, we could never have dessert unless we ate all of our dinner. Most of the time I did it. The top 5 popular desserts in this country. Number 5, cheesecake. Number 4, Jell-O. Number 3, apple pie. Number 2, chocolate cake. And the number 1, the most favorite dessert of all in this country, good old ice cream. Happy National Dessert Day. Have a dessert with all of your meals, or just eat dessert for your meals. Probably not a good idea. 28 minutes after the hour today in history, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items that struck me as interesting. It was 107 years ago in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Theodore Roosevelt was running for president. He was the former president. He was running for president under the Bull Moose ticket. Was due to give a speech in Milwaukee. He was shot and wounded by John Flaming Shank. What saved his life was his speech, which was about 50 pages. It was folded up and tucked in his breast pocket. And behind that was the case that held his glasses, and that's what the bullet hit. So it penetrated, it wounded him, but it didn't go too far into his chest. With the bullet still in him, Roosevelt delivered his speech for about 90 minutes and finally staggered off the stage and went to the hospital. He didn't win the presidency again, by the way. But yeah, former President Roosevelt shot on this date 107 years ago. By the way, they decided Mr. Schrank was, well, and they shipped him off, and that was the end of him. Happy birthday, Winnie the Pooh. There it is, Winnie the Pooh. The children's book Winnie the Pooh was first published on this very date, October 14th, 1926. All of our favorite characters, Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, they're all there. The tiger, whose name I just forgot, Winnie the Pooh. Tigger, thank you, Megan, 93 years old today. Good old Winnie the Pooh. Always getting in trouble, running out of honey, knocking things over. You gotta love Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh is 93 years old today. 57 years ago today, October 14th, 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis began. American reconnaissance aircraft flying over Cuba takes photographs, and they went back and they developed the photographs, and they went, that ain't right. There seems to be ballistic missiles being installed in Cuba, and we're pretty sure that Cuba doesn't have that technology. Who could possibly be installing ballistic missiles in Cuba, a mere 100 miles from the mainland United States? Probably the Soviets. It started on this date. Nobody knew it at the time. They told President Kennedy the next day. A day I will never forget. 43 years ago today, October 14th, 1976, first baseman Chris Chambliss. It's the first pitch in the bottom of the ninth inning of the fifth and deciding game over the right field wall at Yankee Stadium. Yankees 7, Royals 6. The Yankees win their first American League pennant since 1964. Let's take a look.
Mark Littell delivers high drive, hits it right center field. That's gone. It is gone. Chris Chambliss has won the American League pennant for the New York Yankees. A thrilling, dramatic game with overtones of that great sixth game in the World Series a year ago, and then the seventh game too. What a way for the American League season to end. A spunky young Kansas City team. Look at them mob Chris Chambliss. What a season he has had.
Yeah, just a typical Sunday night in New York. By the way, Chris Chambliss, they made it back safely, barely, to the Yankee clubhouse. They waited about 20 minutes because, if you notice, he never actually touched home plate. And then he went out with an entourage of uniformed police officers. Some of New York City's finest escorted Chris Chambliss back out to home plate so he could touch home plate and make it official. Home plate wasn't there anymore. They had dug it up and took it away. So he touched in the area where home plate used to be. Either way, the home run counted. And for you Cubs fans, you'll never forget this date either. October 14th, 2003, they had a 3-0 lead. They needed only 5 more outs to reach the World Series for the first time since 1945. The Cubs give up 8 runs on 5 hits to the Marlins. It all started falling apart when a fan tried to catch a foul ball in the 8th inning. It's been known simply as the Bartman incident. And, well, here you go.
Again in the air, down the left field line. Alou reaching into the stands and couldn't get it, and he's livid with a fan.
That's awfully close to fan interference right there. The umpire's all over it. The umpire right down there, Mike Everett's on the play. If Alou has to reach into the stands, it's fair game for the fans to catch the ball. If the fan reaches out over the field, then it can be ruled fan interference. That is very, very close.
All is forgiven now on the north side of Chicago because, of course, the Cubs would eventually win the World Series in 2016. They would just have to wait a few more years. Today is the 16th anniversary of the Bartman incident. And finally, at 33 minutes after the hour, birthdays. We always do presidents. Dwight David Eisenhower was a president. He was a better general than he was a president, but he was the 34th president of the United States. He was born in the state in 1890 in Denison, Texas. The family moved to Abilene when he was just a kid. He always considered Abilene, Kansas his hometown. Passed away of a heart attack at the age of 78 back in 1969. Ironically enough, of course, we always associate Dwight David Eisenhower with his heroics and his great leadership in World War II. He wanted to go to the Naval Academy. He applied to go to the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, but he was too old at the time to go, and so he applied to West Point, and he couldn't get in because the Kansas allotment was already taken, but the guy ahead of him failed his physical, and Dwight David Eisenhower got into West Point. He was a fair student, but as it turns out, he was a brilliant military leader. Dwight David Eisenhower, born in the state in 1890. And many people consider John Wooden the greatest coach of any sport at any time, anywhere. I'm one of them. John Wooden, probably the greatest coach ever in any sport, was born in the state in 1910, lived to the age of 99. Passed away in the year 2010. John Wooden wasn't supposed to be the head basketball coach of the UCLA Bruins. He was waiting for a phone call back in 1949 from the University of Minnesota, the Golden Gophers. That's where he wanted to coach. That's where his wife wanted to move to. And they waited for the call. There was a snowstorm in Minnesota. They couldn't get through to the Wooden household in Indiana. While he was waiting, UCLA called and said, "Well, you want to come coach in Los Angeles?" And John Wooden said, okay. He accepted the job. Half an hour later, Minnesota finally got through, said, "You want to come coach in Minnesota?" And John Wooden said, "I can't. I just took the job in LA." And the rest is history. 34 minutes after the hour. Going to take a break. Everybody is entitled to Mike McNally's opinion on my conversation with Jessica Johnson and Hank Sage has an open invitation to come by and see me, and October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. No better time to talk to Jessica. That's coming up too. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
They may not be from you, but they're a part of your family. For many reasons, not all children are being raised by their parents. Are you a family member who has stepped in to help raise grandchildren, nieces, or nephews? Whether court-ordered or not, Aging and Adult Care may be able to assist you with many needs. Kinship Care helps keep family and community ties together. Learn more about Kinship Care by contacting Aging and Adult Care of Central Washington, working together for a better quality of life for all.
My awesome is being able to share my passion for yoga. I found yoga in my mid-40s to help me kind of de-stress and calm down, and it actually changed my life. Washington Trust believed in me. I felt like, okay, they got my back. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna go for it. It actually makes you feel like more brave. I do have a lot of awesome in my life.
What's your awesome? Whatever it is, we'll help you get there.
Manny Sanchez here from Town Nissan. It's car buying season, and as we close out our 2019 model year, I want to show you how affordable it is to buy a new Nissan car or SUV. The Rogue is one of the best-selling SUVs in the country. You can own one for just $22,999, or this 2019 Nissan Altima also for $22,999. And finally, this great deal on this 2019 Sentra for $17,999. Come on down and save on the last of the 2019 models before they're gone. It's all at Town Nissan behind Costco in East Wenatchee.
Hey, this is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and everybody is entitled to my opinion. Now, many Christians today share the perception that society is deteriorating, and that's evidence that we are in the end times. Well, I don't deny some nasty stuff is going on nowadays, but I do feel a lot of this deterioration is just the natural progression of human nature, which has always been problematic. Now, I contend that in many ways, society is improving. Now, not perfect yet by any means, but improving. For example, recognition of our need to acknowledge and stand up against domestic abuse and domestic violence. Our acknowledgement and willing to deal with the abuse of our children. Our increased recognition of and the respect for the rights of the disenfranchised. Also, an improvement is an increased recognition of the respect of women's rights and their role in our society. And like him or not, the fact that this country matured enough to elect a black man for president. Now maybe, just maybe in some ways, we're moving in the right direction. Now, this is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and that's my opinion.
Travel enhances your life in every way. Let the travel professionals at Journey Travel and Tours help you plan that dream vacation. Don't leave the important details to those nameless, faceless online agencies. At Journey Travel and Tours, our goal is to build relationships that last a lifetime. And when you do need help, we have a 24-hour helpline that is routed to one of the agents in our office. When you think travel, think Journey Travel and Tours. It's where your journey begins. Like us on Facebook, and you could be one of our monthly winners.
Welcome back to Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. I am Dan Kuntz. I oftentimes kid my regular guests, the people who are regular appearances on the show, about you have an open invitation to come by anytime you want. And I mean that sincerely for a number of people, specifically Jessica Johnson from SAGE, the Executive Director of SAGE. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I always try to work in Jessica whenever I possibly can. And, of course, Hank will be joining us. There he is. There's the Hanker down there. Hank the Wonder Dog is what I call him. I got my Hank doll that you brought me that I always put on the show. I really love it. I haven't seen you for a while, Jessica. I always have to ask you the question, is SAGE busy? And I always hope that the answer is no, but it often is not.
I wish it was not busy, but it has been busy. So we know that we see ebbs and flows of violence during different times of the year, and you know we talk about domestic violence this because it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but we also work with victims of sexual assault and crime victims, child abuse, neglect, human trafficking. I mean anything from like identity theft on up to murder and suicide, and pretty much anything in between, so all the fun topics that we get to come
Yeah.
and talk about.
But it's important stuff.
Yes, it is. It is important stuff, and thank you for having me on. And of course, Hank. I
Hank.
mean,
Yeah.
It's Hank here, and of course Jessica.
It actually happened right when they walked in the foyer of our building. Alicia, our director of First Impressions, says Hank's here, and Jessica too.
And Jessica's too,
Jessica
yeah.
too.
So.
Jessica too. You mentioned it ebbs and flows in your line of work. It's more of a flow than an ebb going on right now, or?
Yeah, I would say so. Not only for domestic violence, but for other things that have been happening throughout our valley too. I know that people want to think that the things that I come on and talk to you about don't happen here, but they do. And we always kid that I want to work myself out of a job. I really do. I don't see that happening anytime soon, though, unfortunately. And part of the benefit of having Hank is that he's really changed the way that we do business, and he helps us make sure that sometimes kids, sometimes adults, mostly kids, they'll get the extra time with Hank so that he can just be there. And really, he's doing his job right now. I mean, he's being here. This is similar to what he would do if he were to go to court, or if we were to be doing a forensic interview or anything like that. So his job is just to be here and kind of help absorb the energy. And
Have the have the judges in North Central Washington pretty much signed off on Hank? I know it's a judge-by-judge decision,
Right.
either Superior or District Court. Are they all
Right.
on board with the Hank being in the box during,
Yes.
during testimony, things
Yes,
like that? Okay.
pretty much. And there was some legislation that went through last session at the state level that said that children have the right to have a facility dog, a trained facility dog with them. So you just can't have your dog, but you can have somebody like Hank.
Right.
And, Hank has been available for like defense interviews and when we do forensic interviews at work, but also for court appearances. He's been in both counties, so both in Chelan and Douglas County, in Waterville and here in Wenatchee. So yeah, he's pretty busy.
And you wouldn't think that Hank's pulling his weight, but Hank is actually Hank has been trained
Right.
extensively to do what he does.
Yes, he has been. He actually came to us. He was 18 months old, and he had been specifically selected for his job. And he has been training ever since probably 6 months, so a good year of training. And then I always kid and said I had to go to doggy university. The dog came trained, but I didn't. So we had a week of training, and then we also had a couple weeks of training back here in Wenatchee too. So, and then we go and do other trainings too. So.
And he's just a great icebreaker because Jessica's job, as we talked about before, is vitally important. It's also terribly sobering and not particularly, we don't associate the work that Sage does with fun, but Hank is a great icebreaker
Right.
when it comes to having to talk about some of the things that we need to talk about.
And then a great example of that was this week we went to the city of Wenatchee, had a recreation night for adults with disabilities, and we did a meet and greet. So Hank was really good to be there and working with adults that had some disabilities, and he did a really great job. I mean, he just settled in, and there was another dog there who wasn't a service dog, and Hank really wanted to play with him, but he knew he had his vest on. So.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing. When Hank has his vest on, that means he's working. He has his vest on now. And so when you're out and about and you see Jessica and Hank, and if he has the vest on, all you gotta do is ask Jessica, is it okay? Can I interact with Hank?
Right. Yeah.
The answer is gonna be yes, but
Yes.
don't just assume you can just walk up and start petting Hank.
Yes.
Without Jessica's say so.
And the only other thing I would say is that please ask too if you want to give him something like a treat, because technically he's not supposed to get any treats, very many treats especially, but we use a lot of treats in training, and so and he's not allowed to have any human food, and people feel
Good.
really bad for him, but it's actually really bad for him to have human food. So we just make sure that we stick to what we were been told.
And when he doesn't have his vest on, he's a regular dog.
He is.
Yeah,
He plays at home.
Lives at your house, yeah.
He'll even when at work he'll get up and go run through the office, and especially when we're closed, like doing a staff meeting or something like that, or a board meeting, he's often entertainment, brings toys out and things like that. So, like you said, he's an excellent icebreaker. So.
Yeah. Whenever Jessica comes on, I do my homework about domestic violence. As we mentioned before, October's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. You brought some statistics. I have some statistics. I don't even know where to begin. They're all sobering, some of the stuff that you brought here. The numbers are well, depressing. Is really what they are.
Yes, they are.
You want to start with, say, dating abuse? Maybe go with that, or what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, dating abuse. I mean, we like to think that, first of all, we like to think that domestic violence doesn't happen here, and doesn't happen to people we know. The fact is that we know the statistic is like 4 out of 5 people know somebody who's been in a violent relationship. They just might not know who that is. They don't, because domestic violence is very, very personal, and it's very traumatizing.
Yeah.
People don't want to talk about it because they're embarrassed about it. They're ashamed. So it's not like a hey, let's go have a cup of coffee and I'll tell you all about what's happening at home. But it also happens, not only between married couples, but it starts really young with kids too. So the youngest kiddo that we've had come in to our office to talk about dating violence, which is considered domestic violence, was 12. 12.
Sure.
12, you think of, kids playing with toys, not, not having relationships. So, and the types of violence for young people are different than for adults usually. There's more controlling behavior. There's a lot more technology aspects to it. So a lot more like cyber stalking,
some bad apps and bad websites
right,
that kids
exactly.
simply should not be on.
Pressuring for like sending photos that are inappropriate and things like that. So that looks a little bit different than it does when you're an adult.
Is that on the uptick? Have you been noticing more and more of these instances of teen dating kind of stuff like that?
It is on the rise, and one of the things is that it seems like every time we get a handle on one of the apps, then there's some new app that you don't even know about that can appear on your kids' phone, and it looks like the calculator, and unless you open it up and you know how to open that up, then it comes out into something that's not really good. So we talk a lot about that at the schools, and talk about how you should be aware that once you hit send, you no longer have control over where that goes. And even on things like Snapchat that say that they'll be gone in however long it is, people can screenshot that and send it on. And
it's so easy now to stalk. It's gotten so much easier to know where you're at any one time.
Especially on like your phone, if you have your Find Your Phone or your Find My Friend app turned on. I think there's something like that in Snapchat too. I'm not really well versed in Snapchat, but
you're not missing much.
Yeah. So, but it is unfortunately really easy to stalk and then show up at places, and of course then you have to, as a victim of that, you have to deal with that and the consequences that might come with that.
Are the kids receptive when you come and talk to them at the schools about this kind of thing? You know how teenagers are, whatever.
Whatever. I have one at home.
Yeah.
For the most part, yes, they are. I mean, we talk about how violence isn't one of those things that starts off on the first date, and how people who are perpetuating this violence oftentimes just feel like, how far can I push you before you say no? So we talk about the fact, like, if you go out on a first date, would you date somebody else if they hauled off and smacked you across the jaw? Most of the kids say no, but there's always one or two who think they're funny and they say yes, or you only live once. But that's not what happens. It happens a lot like it does in an adult relationship. It's like, hey, I don't like your friends. I don't like it when you wear that outfit. Oh, I saw you talking to that other person, and I know that they want to be with you, and things like that. I mean, so it starts off what you think is like, oh wow, this person's jealous, and so that kind of feels good, and then it goes into more and more and more. So
can you, as a teenager, stigmatize yourself into being a victim that carries into your adulthood? Like, oh, I've been I've been abused one way or the other since I was 14, so I'm just going to be the person who's abused.
You can, but you can also break that cycle.
And that's the number. How do you break the cycle? I mean, even for adults, and we've talked about this. I've been in the same relationship for 7 years, and 4 times a year he comes home drunk and he beats me.
Right.
And I leave for a week and then I come back.
It is a process. We know that it takes usually 9 times, an average of 9 times, for a person to leave and stay gone.
9?
9, yes. So, and sometimes the perpetrator won't even know that the victim has left. And and I can tell you personally in my relationship with my ex-husband, I left several times and came back. And the problem is that you're not just talking about just the violence, you're talking about people's feelings. And so they're invested in that relationship, and they start feeling like they're trapped, and they feel like it's their fault, because oftentimes they get isolated. People move them away from their families. The whole comment about, well, your friends don't like me. Well, that's true. Probably not, because you're not treating them the best.
Well, let's, and I wish we had a lot of time. We don't have that much time, Jessica. I want to bring this up. Again, it's very difficult for people to talk about these things, especially if you're a victim. If you're a third-party observant, what are some of the warning signs that you should look for when you think, I think something's not right with my girlfriend, Sandy, because I see this in her behavior or in her physical appearance? For the not learned out there, what are some of the things that people need to look for as warning signs that a friend of theirs is in a difficult situation?
Well, there's several. One of the things is if you're not seeing that person very often. If you are seeing that person and they may appear to be bruised or very withdrawn, we often think about physical violence first, but what we also know is that emotional and psychological violence sometimes is worse. And so a lot of times, and not just the average bad day. We all have the bad days where we think, well, geez, not a great person, blah, blah, blah. But where you start hearing people talking about how they don't feel like they're a very good person. Because once you get told that, it takes a lot of times of being told, no, you are a good person, to get that back again. Unexplained marks, especially if they are in shapes of fingers or things like that. A lot of times people will say, I'm just really clumsy, I fell into the door or something like that. I think the one thing I would want to express the most is just to be non-judgmental. If you think that something is going wrong, please reach out to us. Not that we're going to go in and swoop in and save anybody, but at least you can have that support from us. And maybe you can get your friend to come in and talk to us. Our job is not to tell anybody to leave, but our job is to give them options. And maybe they don't even realize that they're a victim. One of the statistics that I brought with me is that kids who domestic violence is a learned behavior. So kids who observe it at home are twice as likely to either become perpetrators or victims of the violence. And what happens is because kids' brains aren't fully developed. And so sometimes they start thinking that the violence is normal because that's what they see all the time. And so it makes no sense to them when they go possibly over to stay at Susie's house, and Susie's mom and dad or Susie's parents interact totally different than Susie's parents do. That's not normal in Susie's mind because she's witnessed this.
And of course, we were just talking about the physical abuse. Mental abuse is another story altogether. Right. Beating people down, putting them in their place. I am above you. You do as I tell you to, or I will mentally abuse you, which is just as bad, if not worse, than the physical abuse at times.
Yeah, there's a statistic that says that for every one bad thing that you hear about yourself, it takes 10 good things to erase that. So if you think about people that are in these relationships that might be, in a relationship even for a year, and let's say they hear, let's just say they hear one bad thing about themselves every day, that's 365,000. I don't math very well, so but you guys can do the math. But those are the types of things that they have to figure out, and it's not just like, oh, so he said that he said that I was ugly, okay, and so I'm telling myself, well, but you're not. No, you need to hear that from somebody else. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of people that you need to interact with to be able to hear that. And to begin to believe that that's not true. But what happens is, we were talking about isolation. Perpetrators will isolate you, and then so you don't get that good interaction. You don't get the positive interaction.
Yeah.
So
everybody deserves to be in a good, healthy relationship, yes, regardless of your socioeconomic status, regardless of your sexuality. It doesn't matter. Everybody, all of God's children should be able to be in a good, healthy relationship with somebody who they love and they care for. And there are people who never get to that point in their lives.
No.
but Sage is here to help.
That's right.
Is the hotline busy? Do you guys still getting calls?
We do get calls. Again, it kind of ebbs and flows.
Right.
There are times when we get 4 calls a night, and there are times that we go 2 or 3 days without getting a call. But we're there 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
You can call at any point in time. It's answered locally. We can help with lots of different things. But mainly, we're going to try to make sure that you're safe.
Let's end on a happy note. Let's talk about Saturday the 26th, Make a Difference Day.
Yeah.
You got your usual wing ding at your Sage headquarters.
Yes, we do. We're having a trunk or treat. It's called Monster Bash. I always like to tell parents, that Halloween, when it falls in the middle of the week, sometimes that's a little rough when you've got little kids.
Yeah.
So bring kids out. It's from 10 to 4 on the 26th. We'll have a bouncy house. We'll have activities. There'll be some other community partners there. I'm hoping to get the Smile Bug and the Tooth Fairy there from Kara Schroeder's office. And we're just going to have a good time. We're going to have lots of people with trunks and games and different activities, and you can come trunk or treat around. And if you've got real littles and they don't know what the 31st is, you can just say, hey, today's Halloween, we're going to go do this.
Sure.
And not have to worry about what the weather's like or things like that.
That's how Make a Difference Day on the 26th at the Sage headquarters on Chelan. Hank will be there, I hope.
Hank will be there.
Yeah.
We'll see about a costume.
Yeah.
He will probably be in his vest, but we'll try a costume too.
And
so.
if you want to if there's anything to take away from this conversation with Jessica Johnson and Sage, they have been there where you are either at or where the direction you may be going. They have been there. They have done that. They understand. They are there for you if you find yourself in a situation where you need to reach out for outside professional help because you are in the vicious spiral of domestic violence.
Right. And it is a cycle. I mean, and only you can break the cycle. And it's not our job to tell you to leave. We're not going to do that. We're just going to be there to help and to give you options. And maybe that's what you need. Maybe it's embarrassing to talk about. So maybe you need to talk to somebody doesn't know the other partner in your relationship. Maybe you need to talk to somebody that has a Hank, that you can sit and pet. Maybe you just need to talk and maybe don't even realize that it's a victimization. But if you come in and even just take a tour and get to know kind of what our services are about. I mean, we have the food bank, we have a clothing bank, we have hygiene, we have a diaper closet. I mean, we know that not only does that affect people's emotional well-being, but physical well-being, but also their financial well-being too. We can help with those things. So you can come in and talk to us. We're not gonna tell you what you should do. We're just gonna give you options and be there for you because that's what we do.
Maybe the best way to close out this conversation is to remind people what the acronym SAGE stands for. You want to do the honors?
Sure. It stands for Safety, Advocacy, Growth, and Empowerment, and that's what we're all about.
That's as simple as that. Jessica, it's
Yes.
always good to see you.
Thank you.
Hank, you want to say goodbye to everybody, or you want to just sit there? Hank's going to take the rest of the day off.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah.
was a little wondering why we're coming.
See ya, Hank. Thanks for coming by.
Thank
Have a
you.
good time on the 26th.
We will.
And don't be a stranger, all
I
right?
won't. I
Okay,
won't.
that goes for you too, Hank.
Oh yeah.
You're watching Wake Up in Wenatchee Valley. We'll be right back.
Hey folks, Carrie from Blueberry Hills. A chill is in the air and it's a perfect time for some old-fashioned comfort food like our amazing Eggs Benedict, chicken fried steak, French dips, soups made from scratch, or fruit pies fresh from the oven. The crowds might be gone, but we're still here for you folks, so bring an appetite and a friend to Blueberry Hills in Manson, where you pick, you sit, you eat, and you visit. Open Wednesday through Sunday from 8 to 3. wildaboutberries.com.
And we are back on this Columbus Day. Don't forget Columbus Day. It's a federal holiday. Federal offices will be closed. Most banks are closed. And don't be looking for the mailman. He ain't working today. Let's take a look at your weather forecast from the National Weather Service. If you do have the day off, hey, no complaints there. Lots of sunshine, high of about 58. Clouds will start thickening up tonight, 40 for the overnight low. Tuesday, kind of a mixed bag. Partly sunny, partly cloudy, and a high near 58. And then we have a series of weather systems going to start coming in Tuesday night, and pretty much hit and miss. Lots of clouds, the occasional raindrop outside of Thursday, which is a bit of an outlier. We're in for a fairly cloudy weekend, right into the weekend with a little bit of rain here, there, and perhaps everywhere. Provided the show wasn't canceled, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.